Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Satsang. Let's make some silence first. What am I doing, actually doing with my time? What kind of games is my mind playing with me to distract me from the ultimate goal? Am I being able to put all my time into my quest for liberation? So once again, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Satsang. Just reminding everyone, we use WhatsApp as a means of communication. You can send your questions directly to me. So today, before starting answering questions, I will talk about a little bit about guidance, in the sense of what is the normal functioning of the mind and one of the reasons why guidance is so important. But the reason itself is important, but it can lead to misconceptions, because by looking at it, you may start looking at guidance as a kind of a tool, and this happens a lot, is very frequent. But a tool is an instrument you use in a certain function. But guidance is not that. Guidance is that to which you surrender to. It's not a tool that you use. And this aspect is very important, because there is this misconception that I will find a master or something like that and I use it as an instrument in my process of liberation. This is being naive. It doesn't work like that. But without guidance, what do you have? You have your experience, your understanding, your intelligence. This is what you have. And these are the key pillars that sustain illusion as you conceive it, as you recognize it. And this is quite common. People spending years practicing something they understood as a spiritual practice and as the underlying philosophy of it. And years go by and they don't see nothing changing. Those who can acknowledge this, and it's not everybody that can acknowledge this, because hope is the last one to die, and it has to survive so long as to maintain these precious structures of illusion. So to get this vision is risky, at best is risky. So it takes a certain level of maturity to be able to see this. But without guidance, you're just subject to your interpretation, and your mind is not there. It's not there to help you find liberation, because liberation means its own disappearance. So mind is there to preserve itself, to preserve the reality that you are experiencing. Reality, your reality / illusion that you're experiencing. So the teachings you'll be drawn to will be the teachings that will less threaten your reality. But the teaching it becomes something more absolute, at least in your perspective, when it is through guidance than when it is through your interpretation of it. Because your interpretation is not what it's there, what was put there. It's what is possible for you to interpret according to your beliefs, to your reality / delusion, according to your fears, according to all of this. And the mind speaks about self-preservation. Self-preservation. It doesn't want liberation. Well, it does, in a sense, because it fathoms that liberation will be another thing that it can use towards its well-being, towards the maintenance of illusion, or that it will be a super aspect of reality that will make this character super functional, best, whatever. Surrender doesn't come unless the profit is enormous. So your mind will always try to adapt whatever the teachings are to the present reality. And in this sense, it's not trustworthy. And I see this again and again. And in these intense meditation retreats, which is happening right now, this is very visible. And the more time seekers spend into these New Age philosophies now, not New Age philosophies, but New Age interpretation of philosophy, adapting, whatever they are being exposed to their reality, the longer they spend in it, the weaker they will become. And this is quite common. This is quite common. And it's more and more often. So these interpretations, New Age interpretations, they bring weakness to the seeker of truth instead of strength. Not saying that there are no exceptions. Probably there are. There's always exceptions. But as a whole, this is very common. And the phenomenon behind this is this need. It goes beyond a decision, a conscious decision. It's an automatic functioning of your mind. So what you're perceiving is what is possible for you and not what it is. And this is where direct guidance comes as something to break that, because you will listen the instruction, and guidance, at least direct guidance, will not leave room for your interpretation, will clarify your interpretation, will break your interpretation. But to receive that guidance, there must be a point for it to be so. There must be at least a minimum of strength to be able to follow that guidance, or else it is pointless. So instead of searching for the best philosophies, the best techniques, and the best masters on all of this, try to become the best seeker of truth. Find out what it means to be a seeker of truth, and apply yourself into that direction. Guidance comes by itself when there is a minimum of conditions, or a minimum of possibility to gain those conditions. And I hear many things, and sometimes I hear seekers complaining that, oh, but I'm such an eager seeker and I wanted so much this. And why is God not allowing? He must have its reasons. I respect that. But deep down there is resentment. Yeah, not sure if this word exists in English. But there is some kind of bitterness towards this situation. instead of reflection. Because if it is a seeker of truth, it will look at himself, not at God, because why is he not giving this that I want? Firstly, is this in my best interest? Secondly, do I deserve this already? It's not coming. Why? It's because I'm ready and it's pointless, or I'm not ready for this. Probably this is the answer. In some sense, when the time comes, when the time really comes, if you're not postponing it, probably you are. Many are postponing that time, realizing it without realizing it. They are postponing it. They are afraid for that time to come. So they say, oh, I will continue to prepare myself. But this is just an excuse to postpone that time because fear is there. Others have postponed it so much or have undergone so many things that they have wasted their opportunity. And they say, but now, after a lifetime, now I'm understanding, now I want my chance, and it's not coming. Maybe God should pay more attention. So becoming the best seeker of truth, so that guidance can come, so that I'm strong enough to embrace that guidance, to follow that guidance, that should be the direction. Because if you're looking for the best philosophy, that means you're the best seeker. That means, well, not ready. But understand the previous point made. Without guidance, your mind will be adapting all teachings, whatever you're living, experiencing, into the preservation of its own reality, convincing you that that's the best interpretation, that's what it is, and it will bring those fruits. You just have to wait. And you just have to wait. They will come, you just have to wait. They will come, you just have to wait. And just have to wait means you still have time to indulge in those little precious, harmless things. But time flies. It's your only gift here, only possession, whatever that means. It is time. And whatever time is used in your liberation, it is time that is not being wasted. All other time which is used apart from your liberation, it is time wasted. You can repeat yourself to yourself, oh, but we have to do this and we have to do that. Well, that's on you, it's your time. But it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't change the fact that it's time being wasted. And see, worldly life has some advantages. Well, yes, but in a specific context. In the context of that one which is a seeker of well-being, convinced that he is a seeker of truth. Because worldly life, what is deemed worldly life, because there's the worldly life in the spiritual life, but let's not get into that. Worldly life, normal worldly life, It is tough. It is difficult. You cannot go around that toughness. And that, in a way, keeps you a little bit stronger. But spiritual contexts where these New Age teachings are coming, it is a society created to experience peace on earth. So every attitudes, the words that are chosen, the interactions, they are conditioned by this aspect of harmlessness, of peace, of all of these things. So it's much easier to live in that environment. And when you're in that environment, because of that, this environment will make you more weak than you were previously. And understand that. In the quest for liberation, first things to deal with is weakness. And if you're not dealing with your weaknesses constantly, intensely, and solving them and moving on to the next one, you're doing nothing, just adapting spiritual teachings to maintain your delusion. It doesn't matter if it is a worldly delusion or a spiritual-like illusion. Illusion is illusion. So, the fruits of your practice, of whatever you're embracing, those fruits, they are giving the best messages. Especially the fruits that are not coming. Because they are giving you the feedback of what you're doing. And yes, beliefs are the last one to die, and your mind will say, no, but this eventually will work. We just have to persist a little bit longer. And yes, that condition will be there. Either it is for real or it isn't. So it's complicated. This is why the path of the seeker of truth is different from the path of the seeker of well-being. Because they have opposite ways to position themselves. Just making it. Okay. I will answer your question now. Je vais répondre à votre question. So, translating it, can we experience awakening when we live in society with our character and be aware of it? Or should we absolutely renounce the life of a society? Now, this is badly translated. I don't follow a master like you, or I don't have one of my own. In a place devoted to... This is badly... I put it on translator, but it's badly translated. Being in a place devoted to self-realization, does it help? As I was in Vipassana meditation for 10 days without anything, without speaking, looking at others, in this place is easier to constantly be observant and aware. Okay, so first question. Can we experience awakening when we live in society with our character and be aware of it? So this idea, this question reveals the underlying belief that awakening is another resource for the character. something for the character to experience and be aware of it, like tapping into the source and getting some extra fuel. But it doesn't work like that. But that was not the question. The question is it possible by living in society with our character? This is part of the question. Well, possible. Everybody lives in society as a whole. Some are more interactive with others are less. Conditions of life differ, but everybody is in the planet, so no escaping that. But this question, why does it come? Because usually when this question comes, it's because there is attachments with normal life, with your normal surroundings, because you had your answers. Well, I don't have a master, I don't follow a master like you, and I don't have one of my own. Yes, you do. You are your master, your mind. Because there's always a master. Either it is you or it's something beyond you. And it's good to be you, because then you can use whatever you're getting to adapt to your needs, because you have been into a place dedicated for meditation, for intense meditation. And you saw it was easier to maintain your level of awareness, the intensity of your practices, but you're not there, right? And you're not recreating this. You're still asking the question if it is possible. Why? Because there is this hope that it is possible, so that it allows you to maintain your attachments. It allows you to maintain the investments into worldly life. Simple as that. So the question is, it's not if it's possible, because the one who wants it a lot will understand that if this is easier, I follow this direction. Because if this is what I want, if liberation is what I want, I will not be asking in a place where it is more difficult if it is possible. No, because if I want liberation and I know what's helping, why should I keep that which is making it more difficult? Doesn't make sense. So these questions come because of hope, of maintaining your attachments, and still liberation. And having a master would be, well, unsuitable, because the master probably will not give confirmation to that. But don't fool yourself. There is always a master. Either you are the master, your mind with its decisions, you are making decisions at all times, or there is the master giving guidance, and he is apart from you. This is how it is. So there is always a master, someone who is making decisions. So for the one who seeks liberation, you see, seclusion is the most intelligent way. But the one who is under guidance, that may or not be an option, because it is guidance that determines it. So the one who doesn't have guidance, if he knows that these circumstances are better, so why will he be in circumstances that are worse? It doesn't make sense. The one who is under guidance may be directed to these circumstances, or for some reason, for very specific reasons, according to the seeker, he may be directed to stay in the midst of the confusion. But that's up to guidance. So these questions, and I hear that question many times, Do we have to renounce everything? This is not because I want to know what's the best for liberation. It's because I'm afraid of losing my attachments and I want to preserve them. And I'm asking, but do I have to really? Is it really important? Not because, again, not because I really, really want liberation and I'll do whatever it takes, but because I don't want to lose the source of my attachments. Because if this is not the case, then whatever you see that helps and improves, you embrace it immediately. Who cares about the rest? And there was someone else. Mm. Je vais répondre à ta question. So, the silence, therefore, all mystics allude to, is it attained by the work of the mind or by divine grace? Well, the work of the mind is complicated because the real work the mind does, it's to keep its own silence and stillness. That's the real work. Or by divine grace? Well, it's both. And in a way, it's through merit of your own work, of using your level best skills, capacities, your effort, your sincere effort to push beyond what seems to be your limits. That's what enables you for grace, and it is grace that elevates you. Can a spiritual master raise his disciples to this silence? Yes, for sure. But for that to be possible, more or less, you may focus on this very important aspect, and that is your level of devotion, because it is your level of devotion, with few exceptions. Sometimes it comes for that, so that the disciple can break a belief and be able to reach higher into the depth of his devotion. But usually, it is your devotion that makes it possible, because the absence of your devotion is like something which is between you and the master. What are the signs of silence? I will follow you live, but I have not yet been able to understand the sound of different languages. Well, it will be translated. There will be subtitles sometime when they have the time to make it, so you'll be able to understand. What are the signs of silence? Well, silence into the one who is a seeker of truth. It is the freedom to not react to the inner impulses or outer impulses that oblige you to act, to move, to fear, to aspire to any of these movements. But if you are talking about the silence that makes a master recognizable, forget about it, because this is something which is felt, not seen. It can be seen if the master wants to, but if the master doesn't want to, he will even show you the opposite. So, because a seeker of truth is the one who has learned to see with his heart, not with his senses, physical senses. Mhm. Je vais répondre à ta question. Dear Shima, does asking questions is a quest for security? With all my gratitude. It can be, but depends on what you're doing with it. But it can be. But again, what are you doing with it? Because asking a question, it's not about the question. It is and it isn't, because asking a question is opening a door. And as you open the door, you never know what comes through it. So when you ask to a master a question, well, you're opening a door, and the master, through that question, may give you something that you weren't expecting. Usually that's what happens. But if you're asking certain questions just to delay putting into practice that which you already know, and to give this appearance to yourself that you're still doing something, well, that yes. So it depends always on the questioner and what's the purpose of the question. I will answer your question now. So this is a question related to the last topic. I will not get into that topic because of entities and things like that, because that's not a good topic for us to discuss like this again and again. Well, I already said what I had to say about it, and whatever things you want to resort to, well, be my guest, but instead of dealing this in your mind, just put it in place and see for yourself, does it work, doesn't it work? Bottom line is, the basis is always fear. And but this question, I will do exercises you gave me last time, but sometimes I find inquiry happening by itself despite of what's happening. Well, that's just habit. It's not a question of evolution, but habit. I will explain this. When a certain spiritual practice is put in, when you're practicing it, yes, you're developing the sanskars, but it depends on certain factors. Are you adapting that practice to your reality? Are you practicing because it is challenging you, or because it enters your comfort zone? What is happening? Because, for example, seekers come for the retreat and they are given a specific technique to practice, a set of rules, disciplines, and it is very common to stop what they are practicing and to go back to what they were practicing. Why? Because it is a comfort zone. And if it wasn't a comfort zone, they would take this retreat as something sacred, holy, that God has presented to them at this moment, and that they should embrace it completely. But going back to the comfort zone is always very strong. So it is in this situation. So are you looking for guidance or just an opinion? Because there's always a master, and if it's not guidance, if it is just an opinion, it's for you, the master, to decide. But if you're not going anywhere previously, do you think it's because you haven't gotten the best opinions, or because you're the master? Probably this second one. hosts. If it's the same, wait. Okay, so this is going into another direction. Silence melts all these things, doesn't give space to them, to these worldly habits, worldly companies, and all of that. Because, well, worldly people don't like to remain silent. So if the one is silent, it will not be a good company. But from the direction you're taking this, it's not with me. So there's no point for me to speak about it. So like I've explained previously, the mind is like a labyrinth, which is designed to keep you there. It's not that which will lead you to the exit of it. It is that which will maintain you there. And if you don't understand that you are your only obstacle, then you'll be using yourself as the compass to exit the labyrinth. And you will find yourself stuck in it. It doesn't matter if it's the same labyrinth or it has a new shape, the walls are changing a little bit, if it is adapting. The question is, you will be stuck in it. So the basis of any spiritual practice, first, it deals with fears and weaknesses. So all kinds of challenges into detachment areas, they will come, and all your weaknesses will get revealed one by one for you to deal with. It is intense, hard work. So if you're taking from your practice or looking from your practice into peace already and sweetness and good environments, good interactions, then this is nothing yet. It's just a new adaptation of the same old that you're living. Okay, so for today, that's it. Next satsang will be Wednesday, 9:30 in the morning, Brazilian time, UTC -3. Until then, make the best use of your time. Make it real.